Hey there, everybody. It's Drew Poppleton, and thank you for clicking on this video. I want to use this video as a supplement to some of our announcements about what's coming up here in September. So basically, I just want to give you a few more details about some of the events. So I hope you watch the whole video. First of all, on September the 10th, we're going to have our ministry year launch, including our convocation. So that just means that after the worship service, after coffee and cookies, we're going to come back into the sanctuary, at least the adults. The children are going to have a separate activity, but the adults are going to come back in the sanctuary for convocation. Love that word. Con meaning together, vocation meaning called. So just to be called together after being, sort of a part of a hectic summer, called back together. Let's look at the ministry year, look at what God has in store in the plans that we've made so far, and we don't know what else God has in store. But to look at those plans, to look at the church calendar, and to talk about the ministry year theme, which, as I've said in different venues, the ministry year theme for 23-24 is story. So why story? Well, partially because God relates to us so much through story. There's multiple genres in the Bible, and one of the most prominent ones is story. Mark 4:34 says that Jesus only taught using stories, which is interesting. And then the Gospels themselves, the sort of the lifeblood of why we're even Christians in the first place. The Gospels are related to us as stories. The Gospels are stories about Jesus. It's the greatest story ever told. So stories. And we, in turn, tend to be story people. We love hearing stories and telling stories. We're story people. And yeah, probably the best reason of all is because we tend to believe stories that aren't true or aren't accurate or aren't guiding us in the right direction. And we think that I truly believe that one of God's greatest goals through the Bible is to re-story us, to help us tell a different story about our lives. So yeah, story is going to be this theme. So we're going to go over that and the ministry year calendar and a whole bunch of other things. So I hope you're there September the 10th. And then afterward, there'll be a big old fat potluck. And so all the more reason to stick around so we can just have a great morning together. And in order to jump into that story theme right away at the beginning of the ministry year, we're going to have a special Learning Hour event for adults on September the 17th. So there's going to be a Learning Hour kicking off for youth and children that day. Adults, we're going to ask you to come to a special event where we're going to introduce a storytelling tool, a tool that will help everybody who participates with that tool to tell their life story and what God has done in their lives. So we want to introduce that tool and then demonstrate the use of that tool by having Drew Peterson tell his life story. And if you haven't heard Drew Peterson's life story, I think it'll be really great for you to come and hear it. You want to hear this story. His story, like a lot of our stories, is full of ups and downs and there's amazing testimonies of all the ways that God has worked it together for good, a la Romans 8:28. And so come out September the 17th, be introduced to that tool, including a demonstration of that tool. So I hope that you will stick around for the Learning Hour on September the 17th. And especially, we would love for small group leaders and small group members to come out, because what we're encouraging small groups to do is to use this storytelling tool and throughout multiple sessions of your small group, have one or two people each session tell their life story using this tool. So I know that some small groups have their own rhythm, don't want that disrupted by some other things, but we think that this could really complement it, and we think this can only help your group grow stronger as you hear the life stories of the people in your group, because you're probably very familiar with those people on one level, and yet you probably haven't heard their whole life story in one telling and all that God has done through them. We think it could be really encouraging to hear each other's stories. Now, does that mean you need to be part of a small group in order to come on September the 17th? By no means. Please come, even if you're not a part of a small group, but especially if you are a part of a small group. If you're not a part of a small group, it's good to learn about that tool, because you'll learn to be able to tell your story in all sorts of other settings. And what we want to do is help to place more people in small groups. And so maybe it can be something that you can do in this upcoming ministry year, is share your story within a small group, a new group that you're a part of. So if you like what you see demonstrated to you on September the 17th, another way to step in, to take another step further, is that we're going to hold a workshop on the morning of Saturday, September the 23rd. So we, being me and Drew Peterson, we're going to hold a workshop where we're going to empower people to use that tool that's demonstrated on September 17th. So we want to empower you to be able to tell your story well and listen to other people's stories well. We've got a bunch of good tools for that. I met with 3 consistory members this past week and introduced some of those tools and kind of experimented with them on those things. Super encouraged at the way that those things were received and the way in which we played around with those things. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you will come out on September the 23rd for that workshop, because you will be empowered and equipped. We do need you to register for that so that we know how many people are going to show up and who needs childcare for that event on Saturday the 23rd from 9 a.m. to 11:45. So if you want to register for it, there's a link in the Friday email, or it's just frctc.org, our website, frctc.org/workshop. And that'll take you right to the registration page and you can sign up. So you can either sign up right away or wait until you see it demonstrated on September 17th and then decide to step in. Either way, we'll probably follow up with personal invites, so you can look forward to that. Okay, but yes, we're going to start off the year with a couple events in September. Now you have a few more details about those. Hope you participate, and I think it'll be good for your faith and good for all the faith of the people around you. So, okay, that's all for now. Thank you much. Bye.